So I hope you guys don't mind. I am used to like moving. You know, when you do kids, you can't stand in one spot. I mean, you got to kind of go over here and do this, and then you got to jump over there. So I will apologize now, but I am a total mover on the stage, and I do this. And so just forgive me. But I also want to say I love props, and I love object lessons. So I have those, so you'll have to kind of just bear with me, and I tell a lot of stories. And so I hope you guys can just kind of be patient, just kind of follow me as I go. Is there anybody out there that is just completely ready for Christmas? I mean, your gifts are done. You're ready to go? No, that's awesome. No, this is great, because I thought for sure I was going to have like 10 hands go up, and I was going to be like, wow, this may not be the service for you. I may not have the sermon quite for you on that one. If you're done, if you're like the rest of us, I mean, you are busy this time of the year. We're busy all year long, but when it comes to this point of the year, it seems like it just kind of explodes on us, and we get added so much more to our lives. And it's crazy, right? We start hearing words like hectic, whirlwinds, can't catch a breath, can't get a break, sinking over here. I mean, we're going there, right? Everybody's kind of starting to feel that. I mean, then we start to look at, okay, we got to go buy gifts. What gifts do I buy? Oh my gosh, and we're like, okay. I mean, my kids, my older ones, they're great. They just want a gift card. I'm like, dude, that is the best for me. I'll just get you a gift card, just send it to you. But my younger two, right, 13 and 9, they don't want a gift card. They want something under the tree. You know, so then we got to start thinking, all right, what gifts am I going to be buying, be purchasing for them? And so that starts to add to it. Then I start thinking about, oh man, we got Christmas parties going on. You know, we got job Christmas party, friends Christmas party, family Christmas parties. We still got to maintain our jobs and do what we're supposed to do. We still try to serve and go in those places and do those things. And we just start exploding onto ourselves and start getting so weighed down on our heaviness on how much stuff we really have to do this time of the year. It's crazy to think about it. I mean, I've read stories where one guy says, hey, I work 72 hours a week, and I'm thinking I got to do a little bit more because everybody else in my office is doing it, so I might have to cut back a little bit on my sleep to go do some more work. And I mean, 72 hours is a lot of hours. That is crazy hours. We've done them, we've all done them, but we don't want to do them on a weekly basis. But in reality, as humans, we wear our busyness like a badge of honor, right? You may think that we don't, but I'm telling you, we wear our busyness like a badge of honor. I mean, we kind of come up and we take our little badge, and we kind of stick it like that. And then we're out kind of rolling around and we're talking to people, and while we're going around, all of a sudden we run into some of our friends. And they're like, hey, what's going on? And then they start giving you this big old list of things they're doing, things they're involved in, things that are going on in their life, and you're like, oh, suddenly my busy don't feel so busy. Suddenly my busy looks really small, and if you're competitive like me, you're not going to let that happen. There's no way you're going to outdo me. So I change it up, right? So I take that little bit, and I got to add some things to my life, and then suddenly I come out, and I'm like, all right, now I'm good, right? And so now I'm rolling around, and I'm going, and I'm like, man, I'm busy. And then all of a sudden you run into a couple more people. And all of a sudden they pull out their list. And all of a sudden they're going down their list, and you get in your car with your wife. I mean, I just did the other day. I'm like, you believe how busy they are? It's like, yeah, did you hear everything they're doing? I'm like, yeah, we are way off the mark. And she's like, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, well, we got to add some more. We can't be like that. And we're like, we got to take that badge off, and we got to throw that thing to the side. And then suddenly, real badge on, right? And then we gotta bedazzle this thing up. We gotta try to make it look good, right? So when we're busy and we're sinking and we're just drowning, this is what we do. We try to make it look good. Somebody comes up and says, hey, what are you doing? And you're like, oh man, but in the back of your mind, you're like, oh gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't know how I'm gonna get through the day. But I look good. Doesn't matter. I look good, And so we start to think about those busy times in our lives when we get that busy. And so we have to do that front. And that front is what really hurts us. Because in the back, we're struggling. And so what I want to talk about today, right? 5 points. How to get through our busyness. 5 things that we have to do or can kind of help us slow down and just get through life's busyness. Okay? First one. We need to slow down and just learn how to walk. I mean, come on. Slow down and learn how to walk. Now, I think you guys are like, there's no way we got to slow down. We can't slow down this time of the year. Hey, that's okay. I understand. Look, this isn't going to be something that you guys will walk out the back door and just immediately do right on the first hand. This takes a lot of thought process, a lot of things going on. But you have to remember, you got to slow down and you got to walk. Here, let me show you the difference between running and walking. Okay, are you ready? Running is all about me. It's all about me. Walking, on the other hand, is all about my surroundings and others. Let me show you real quick, okay? Walking or running, when we take running and we're going to a race, we get up to the line. We might be doing like a 100-yard dash going out, and we line up on the front side. And let me just tell you, I hate running. I really do. I'm not very fast, but hey, you get up to the line and you hear the gun go off or the whistle blow and you take off running. And only thing you can do to focus on running is right straight in front of you, just like this. And all you can do in front of you is say, okay, what do I got to do to win? Okay, well, I got to keep my feet moving. I can't let my feet get tripped up. I can't step in a hole. And I got to do whatever I got to do to keep myself upright so I don't face plant it right into the track. Right? I mean, we don't run up. I don't run down a race, and I don't get going down the race like this really fast, and I don't come up to Pastor Mark, and I'm like, hey, Pastor Mark, what's going on? And we're just running, and he's like, oh, not much, running. And I'm like, hey, how's the family? How's Pastor Deb? How's the kids? We don't do that. We can't even have a conversation. Only thing we're worried about is how am I going to get across that finish line first? How am I going to be the first one to do it? That's running. See, when you get so busy in your life and you run, that's what you start to do. You pull out your phones, you pull out your calendars, and you're like, okay, what do I got today? Well, I got to go here. Oh, well, I can only go to this guy's house for 15 minutes because I got to save time at the end of the day. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I'm not going to have time to make that. Everything becomes about I. All becomes about me. But when we walk, see, a totally different outlook on life. Because when we slow down and we start to take steps and we start to walk, see, when I'm walking the track, I can look up into the stadium, I can wave at people, I can really have a conversation with Pastor Mark because I can put my arm around him and say, hey, really, what's going on? I know you did. I don't have to ask you, did you stretch your legs out today? Are they sore? Because mine are. I don't have to do that. I can just kind of put my arm around and I can walk with him. I can walk and take life. And I can have a conversation. How much better is that? How much better is it for me to take away from me going I to me to start looking at everything else that's going around to me and what's going on? It's crazy when we start to see those kind of things going in. Here's some Bible verses for you that we going on. And when we start to look at these things, right, these will start to sound really familiar. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-lifting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. We can take that big badge off and say, man, I got to slow down. I just can't keep this up. And we got to learn how to live freely and lightly by slowing down, by walking and having relationships with God and with those around us, right? And everybody that's going. This is the next one. I love this one. I'm going to tell you I love a lot of verses today because I love God and I love the Bible. So just bear with me when I say that. So, Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be. Remind me that my days are numbered, how fleeting my life is. You have made my life no longer than the width of my hand. My entire lifetime is just a moment of you. At best, each of us but a breath. We are merely moving, all shadows, and all of our busy rushing ends in nothing. We heap up wealth not knowing who will spend it. All of our busyness gets us nowhere. Gets us absolutely nowhere. And we've got to try to figure that out. We've got to try to slow down. And we got to do all of that just to have relationships. Point number 2, okay? We got to learn to recognize some distractions in our lives. Some distractions in our lives. Things that get in the way. How many of you guys like the beach? Everybody likes the beach? Well, I grew up in Orlando. I moved up here like 11 or 12 years ago. And the thing that comes around with the beach is that I was first about 35, 40 minutes from it. But I love the beach, and I don't love the beach all at the same time. There are things I don't love about the beach. I love taking my wife, Wendy, down on the beach and walking with her and holding her hand and watching my kids make sandcastles and playing and doing all these kind of things. But then when I go to leave the beach, that's when I don't like the beach all that much. Because here's what's happened, right? We grab our stuff, we're walking up, we get up onto the ramp, and we start to walk up that ramp, and we get into where they usually have like a faucet or a little shower where you can rinse off and do things. And you go up and you rinse your feet off. And then you rinse this foot, and you slip them back into your shoes. And then you start to make that long walk back up the ramp, going to your cars. Well, while you're walking, you suddenly start to feel something like right in the bottom of your shoe. Right? I mean, everybody's felt it. And you're walking and you're like, okay, there is something there that is bothering me. You know, and now all of a sudden you're not walking like this anymore. Suddenly you're doing one of these and you're going, and you're trying to like not put weight on your foot while you're walking, but it's there. And only thing you can think in the back, I mean, this is me. Only thing I can think about in the back of my mind is like, my gosh, there's a boulder in the bottom of my shoe. And it is disturbing me. It is bothering me. I can no longer hear what my kids are doing. I can't even hear Wendy yelling at my kids to hurry up because I'm like, only thing I want to do is get to my car as fast as I can. And so I start to speed that limp up really fast to try. And she's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I just can't talk right now. And so I just keep going and going. And I get to my car and I open up my door and I come in and I sit like this. And then I pull my shoe off and you dump it like that. And it's like these little 3 or 4 grains of sand that dump out of your shoe. You know what I'm saying? It's not even, I mean, I thought this thing was like this big. I thought it was going to hurt. I thought, man, when I saw that drop out of there, it was going to be great. But that's what it is, right? But let me show you another part, right? We slowed down, and I go back to my baby badge, my little badge, because I learned how to slow down in my life. But then there's another part, right? This is my hat of distractions, right? I got to figure out what in the world is going on. I got all this stuff starting to bound up in front of me that I can't even see what all this is. And I've got to learn how to take these distractions and I got to recognize them in my life. And I got to start, oh, okay, I didn't think they were going to pull down. I got to start getting these things out. And I got to start pulling them down. Whew. I got to start recognizing what they are. I mean, these things are, I don't know how many my wife made, but it seems like she made a whole lot more than what I told her. You know? I might have to fix that for like second service and maybe go a little bit less on the old thing there. But man, I got to recognize what those things are. And I got to start looking at those things. And I got to get them out of my vision, right? I got to get them out of my shoe where it's bothering me, and I get it, you know? Because you know what? As humans, we're really good at the big things. You know, when something catastrophic happens to us, we're awesome at it. We can handle it. We know how to deal with it. Everybody knows our business. But it's those little grains of sand, those little dinky things that we try to hide, that we put in our shoes, that are at the bottom, that's creating our slowdown, our walk, to really start interrupting our life. And those things just start coming out at us and start going. So watch this. Let's see where we are in the verses on this one. And then as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was what? Distracted by all of the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me." And then Jesus replies, "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." Here's Mary and Martha, upset because one sister leaves to go listen to Jesus, and the other one's doing the preparations, trying to do the meal. And she's like, "Come on, Jesus, tell her to come back." And he's like, "Martha," I could just see it. "Martha, Martha, come on. What's really important here?" Start taking those distractions out of your life and start noticing what they are. Start recognizing what they are. See what's really getting in the way of you and your family or you and your time. Start looking at what's going on in life and slowing down a little bit and getting back to that walk. And I think I have a couple more. I love this one also. And like I said, I told you I would say that a lot today. "The seed cast in the weeds represents the ones who hear the kingdom news, but are overwhelmed with worries about all the things they have to do and all the things they have to get. The stress strangles what they heard and nothing comes out." That's pretty big. I will tell you honestly that I am guilty of this. I will come here and there's, when I was working out in the business world, working for FedEx, and I was out there doing things, and I would be like on call. And I would bring my phone in here and I would sit right here. And I knew that I was on call, and I was sitting here doing this. Now, was I here? Well, I was in the building, and I was sitting here. I was hearing things, but it didn't go anywhere because I was too worried about what other things had to be going on. I was too worried about other distractions in my life, Or have you ever done it with your kids? Notorious, me and my wife, we have to set our phones down. We have to set the technology down. Because we'll sit there and we'll be doing this, and my kids would just be like, "Hey, what's going on?" We're like, "Yeah, hold on a second." And we just keep going. We keep ignoring the things because the distractions we're doing this. They're blocking my eyesight. They're blocking my vision to what really matters the most. And it's just right there. I think I got one more. "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the what? Most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." You've got to make opportunities. When you see them, you've got to take them. You can't just pass by them and just say, tomorrow's another day. We ain't got to worry about that. We'll get it tomorrow. We're all guilty of that, right? We do that. I do that with my wife. I do that with my kids. Just across the board. We'll do that tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about that today. But I'm missing opportunities because I'm not slowing down. Okay? And then here we go. Again, this is one of my all-time favorite verses, but this is just a different version that kind of sums it up. Summing it all up, friends, I'd say you'll do best by filling your minds and meditating on things true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious, the best, not the worst, the beautiful, not the ugly, things to praise, not things to curse. Put into practice what you learned from me, what you heard and saw and realized. Do that, and God, who makes everything work together, will work you into his most excellent harmonies. I'm all about working in some excellent harmonies because I want to know what that is. We got to figure it out. We got to look how we can slow down. Okay, point number 3. Are you getting tired of my object lessons yet? I keep them coming, all right? Here we go. We need to what? We need to let go of some things in our lives. That's like a song, right? Who has kids? Come on, we have to do it, right? Let it go, let it go. That's as many words as I know. Sorry, But hey, we've got to let go of some things. I'm going to take you back to my object lesson, all right? You ready? Got my busy badge going. Got almost all of my distractions going on. I've cleared the distractions. What am I doing? I still got them. I haven't let those things go yet. Just because I pulled them down and I recognized them, they're still right there in front of me. They just may not be right here. They might be down here a little bit, but they are in with close reach of my hand. They're within close reach that I can grab a hold of that and still get distracted by what's going on. And that's because I haven't learned how to let go of it. right? Because I'm going to hold on to these things super tight. We're not going to let go of them. I'm not going to do anything with that. I'm going to hold on. You're not going to tell me to get rid of doing stuff, right? I mean, if you guys don't know my wife, Wendy, God love her for putting up with me for 16 years, is what I say to her all the time. Because it really is a chore, because I laugh and I love life, you know? And I'm always picking a joke or doing something. But there are times when we were first married, I used to call her like OCD. And if you don't know her, she is like Little Miss Organized everything, you know? And when I mean everything, I mean everything. Okay? And she'd come home at night, and she would be so concerned that everything wasn't back in its place right where it was supposed to go, that she would stay up late trying to put it back into place. You know, and on this side of it, I'm like, God, please just take that away from her. On the other side, she's like, God, why don't you tell him how to put his stuff back? You know? And I'm like, just can't get this figured out. You got to let go of that. And she's like, God, just tell him what he needs to do and straighten him out. You know? And over the years, I think God's kind of worked us both into the middle to where we can get to the center. But she does. I mean, I call her that, OCD. I mean, it was one point where we have those little ABC letters that are magnet letters, and they go on your refrigerator. And we put them on our refrigerator because my little girl was like 1.5. She doesn't know how to spell. Why do I have to have letters on the refrigerator when you don't know how to spell? You can't even say A or B, right? But they would be all mixed up. And she would come and get to the side of the refrigerator, and she'd put all the A's together, then all the B's, then all the C's. And it would be in alphabetical order all the way down the list, you know? And then we had a small group at this time, and some of my small group buddies would come over, and we were just laughing, and I'd be like, watch this. And they were like, what? And I'm like, you know? And then I would run back and sit down, and Wendy would come in, and she'd be like, you know, putting them all back in order. And it just got to be a huge joke around my house because my friends started to catch on, and they were like, watch this. And Wendy would go out there and try to organize it again. And it's just crazy when we start to think how those things, you just got to let go of those things. You know? I mean, the house has got to be perfect. No, it doesn't. It's okay. It's okay. Friends live in their houses just like we live in our houses. It's okay. You know? I remember, it's my one last story, not last story, but this one, is that wife would try hard to get me to read to my kids at night. I mean, try hard, you know. And I just had this whole little thing in the back of my mind where I knew how I could get out of reading to my kids, you know. And so my last one, my little girl, she was just maybe 3 or 4 years old, and she's like, "Can you go back and read her a book?" And I'm like, "Sure, I got this all figured out. I had 3 boys, a little girl. We got this, you know." And so we go out there, and I open up this book, and we start reading this book, you know, and it's like Brown Bear books. If you're a teacher, you know that book, all right? And so I'd be like, Brown Bear, what do you see? You know, and I'd make these big voices really loud in the house, and Megan would just get upset. She'd be like, that is not how Mom reads the book. And I'm like, I know. This is how I read the book. It's how Dad does it. And she's like, that's not, and then Wendy would get agitated. Read the book the right way. And I'm like, okay, Brown Bear, you know, and I changed my voice, and then, so it just, that's me, I agitate, you know, it's kind of, but regardless, that's what I used to do to kind of get out of reading the books. Up till about like 3 years ago, we were doing Christmas, and she always pulls out one of these black containers for Christmas, and it's got all these Christmas books in it. And Megan goes over, and she pulls out this little Christmas book, and it said, Elmo's 12 Days of Christmas. You know where I'm going with that one, right? Elmo and 12 days. That's 12 voices that I can have fun with. And I'm never going to have to read that story again. And so she got that book out, and I started doing these 12 voices. And immediately, Wendy turned around, and she goes, you know how that agitates me. You know that bothers me. And Megan goes, oh, wait, but Mom, I like that. And so I was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, right? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in trouble, you know? And so she says, all right, we're going to talk later. I mean, it's like that. You guys get it, right? The death look. I mean, it's called the stinky eye when you get it from your wife. You know what I'm talking about. I know I'm not the only one, you know? And so we start singing this. Well, RJ was my son that was just getting ready to leave for the Navy, and then Ethan was there, and then I was there, and then, of course, Megan. And we started singing this book, singing the 12 Days of Christmas, and we changed our voice 12 different times all the way across. And it came to a point about 3 days later of Wendy being really agitated and bothered by me that she goes, you know what, I'm going to join in and have some fun. And so she joined in, and then she added a whole nother level of voices, because she just doesn't do voices very well. But she added a whole nother level of voices into the mix that we started singing. And finally, it just clicked. She's like, you know what? What does it matter how the 12 days of Christmas are read? Does it matter if I put big voices to it? It doesn't matter if I change it up a little bit and we have some fun. What really matters is that we're all sitting on the couch, we're singing at the top of our lungs, and we're having a good time. And every year, that book has made it. We just put the book out last week. It made it right to the front of the list. Because Megan is like, don't forget this one. You know? I mean, does it really matter? You got to learn to let some things go. I mean, look at these things. I mean, these are things that I came up with just fast. Expectations. Saying yes to everything. Social media. Oh, how about overscheduling? Routine task. Right? Procrastination. Worry. I'm going to have a big mess to clean up. Relationships, right? Perfection, hobbies, most of all, work, right? Some of those distractions, they're just killing us. They're blocking us, and we don't see what's going on right there. And it's just making us busier and busier and busier, and we're getting to be more stressed and more stressed and more stressed over everything that's going on in life. And so we've got this one. I like this one too, sorry. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it'll be even more fruitful. We've got to learn how to allow God to do some pruning in our lives, right? Got to let him cut some things out. There's just some friends on social media you just may not need. I had a conversation yesterday about that. There's a couple of my buddies that I went to high school, and I had to defriend those guys. Because I'm like, yeah, you're a huge distraction for me. You guys got to go. I got to prune that out of there. You know, I've got to learn to let some things go in life and be like, it's okay. It's okay if we don't do that. We'll be just fine. We'll be there, you know. We've got to allow those things to come in, and then we got to let God do it for us too. There's going to be things in there that you're just going to have something bad in your spirit over, and you're going to be like, man, that just doesn't seem right. Just like God's tugging at my heart saying, don't do that. And you got to be willing and open enough to say, hey, we're going to not do that. All right, point number 4. Okay, we need to make time for rest and be still before God. Rest and be still. 2 things that we don't do. Resting and be still, right? So let's check out the verse, right? Then because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. To a quiet place and get some rest. Wow, man, we got to learn how to find those quiet places. Next one. I like this. Here we go. When Sanballat, Tobiah, the Arabs, the Ammonites, and the Ashdodites heard that the repairs of the walls of Jerusalem were going so well that the breaks in the wall were being fixed, they were absolutely furious. They put their heads together and decided to fight against Jerusalem and create as much trouble, right, as they could. We countered with prayer to our God. Look, there is going to be a lot of distractions in our lives and a lot of things going on. We've got to figure out how to slow down. We've got to learn how to unplug. We've got to find our quiet place. We've got to go in and just find time that we can just counter everything that the devil is doing to distract you from what is right and proper in front of you, and find quiet time to put your life, and I'm going to use Pastor Mark's word from last week, in order. And we're going to put that in order, the way it's supposed to be, the way we should be doing things. You know, we're good at really, you know, having a busy day and then trying to work our busy day around God. instead of putting God first and then putting our busy day around God? I mean, how many times have you guys heard, I hear this all the time, I just think, I don't have time. I don't have time to go serve. I don't have time to give God 5 minutes because that means I'm going to have to wake up 10 minutes earlier to try to get it in because I get up at the last possible second there is. You know, but if you just find yourself slowing your day, start your day slow and say, find myself just resting in quiet and in peace, it takes on a whole new meaning of the whole day because it just mellows everything kind of out for you and you just kind of, you know. I'm an early riser and my wife is not an early riser. She's like, if I got to be at work at 8:15, I'm going to get up at 8:05 and hope I get out of the door by 8:13 to drive the half mile to get to work, you know. But now this year, she's had some different perspectives of things and she's starting to get up at like 6:30 because it's quiet. She can have some alone time. Kids aren't bothering her. I'm not bothering her. And she's just kind of like, my day goes by so much better when I just have my quiet time. And I'm like, exactly. It's your quiet time. Let's go to the next verse. Right? Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. Go on to the next one. Then stand still and see this great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes. And then we'll go on to, there we go. Then he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. That is huge. God knew you were going to be busy. Before he even created you, he knew you were going to be busy. And he knew in the back of his mind, man, these guys are just going to start getting overwhelmed quick, and I'm going to make a day for them. He didn't say, I'm going to make a day of rest, and then I hope that man's going to take advantage of it. He says, no, I created you. I know what you're going through. I know your struggles. I know what you're going to try to put on your plate. You know, I know what you're going to put on your plate next week, but I've created this for you. Take advantage of it. I mean, that's like free vacation. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I love vacation, and my boss is being Pastor Mark now, but if my boss is at work, if Pastor Mark ever said, Rodney, you want to take an extra week of vacation? I'd be like, yeah, I'm going. That's exactly what this is. God created it for you. He wants you to take advantage of it. He wants you to slow down. Don't forget to walk. Don't forget to have the relationships. Point number 5. Okay, during your rest, remember your purpose. During your rest, remember your purpose. You guys ever hear a story about 2 lumberjacks? Nobody? All right, I got another story for you then. 2 stories, a story about lumberjacks. Lumberjacks, first guy's name was Crazy Swing, and the second guy's name Buzzsaw. Now, these are 2 big-time lumberjack guys that they know what they're doing. They chop trees down. They're the best in the land. But one day, Crazy Swing, being this young guy, he's kind of really big and stocky and built up, goes up to Buzzsaw, the other guy, the older guy, and he goes, hey, let's have a competition, and let's figure out who really is the best lumberjack, who's king of the lumberjacks. And so Buzzsaw's like, okay, we can do that, I guess. We'll start tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning, they come out to the forest, and they start chopping trees down. And while they're chopping trees down, you see Crazy Swing over there. They call him Crazy Swing for a reason, because he's just over there swinging away at the trees. Chop, chop, chop. Just going to it. Never takes a break, never eats lunch, never goes to the bathroom. He's like, I'm going to work straight through the whole day. There's no way this guy is going to beat me. So while he's chopping down the trees, he keeps kind of glancing over, and every so often he sees Buzzsaw taking a break. And he's sitting there, and he's like, oh, I so got this guy. This is mine. I got it. Well, by the end of the day, they're finished up. Crazy Swing is just sore. He's exhausted. He's beaten. He can't barely move. He can't do anything else except sit. They decide to go in and count the trees that are in. And they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, you know. And then they come over here and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, we'll come to find out. Buzzsaw went and chopped down 10 more trees than Crazy Swing did, going all crazy over here. Now, Crazy Swing is just totally mad. And he walks over and he goes, Buzz, he goes, how in the world did you ever chopped down more trees than me. He says, well, let me tell you my secret. He says, every tree I chopped down, I went and took a 10-minute break. And he says, every time I took a 10-minute break, pulled out my sharpening stone and I sharpened my blade. And so when you start to look at that, you start to think differently, right? This guy's resting and doing his purpose, right? Watch this. Watch the Bible verse. After Athens, Paul went to Corinth. That is where he discovered Aquila, a Jew born in Pontus, and his wife Priscilla. They had just arrived from Italy, part of the expulsion of Jews from Rome, ordered by Claudius. Paul moved in with them, and they worked, right, together at their common trade of tent making, but every Sabbath, day of rest, he was at the meeting place, doing his best to convince both Jews and Greeks about Jesus. The cool part about these two stories is that both were working very hard. You know, Paul didn't take a break from his work all the time. He was working. He was making tents. Buzzsaw and Crazy Swing, they were chopping down trees. But the thing is that they remembered what their purpose was. Paul remembered, my purpose is to talk about Jesus. My purpose is to spread the news. My purpose is to make an introduction between somebody here and somebody over there that doesn't know Jesus, and to bring them together. Buzzsaw knew that he needed the 5 steps in order to prepare, to complete and succeed at what he was doing, right? It sounded like it was just a story, but really, Buzzsaw knew he needed to slow down. He couldn't go out like Crazy Swing and start chopping away at that tree and just doing whatever he wanted to do. He needed to take pace, slow down. You know, he needed to know what the distractions were. All right? The distraction was Crazy Swing was over there going crazy, and all he could think about how fast he was chopping trees down. And he had to identify that. Guy was younger there. You know, he had to let go. He had to let go because Crazy Swing was younger and stronger than he was. I can't let that get in the way of me. Then he had to realize he had to take a time of rest. And he had to sit there. And he had to just mellow down. Take his time to sharpen his blade. You know, do his thing. And then all of that, not to forget his purpose, was to be the lumberjack. And those two things start to work together. When we start to put those 5 steps into process, when we start thinking about those things, and we start identifying and changing the way we look, we start to see a whole different perspective of how God uses us. Because suddenly, you know, what we think that we're not seeing, there may be somebody in your life that has been coming around you for years, and you've never thought about introducing him to Jesus, ever. But suddenly you slow down and you're like, oh, I've never talked to you about Jesus, ever? Wow, I didn't know that. You guys don't go to church. Why don't you guys come? And see, suddenly our vision, everything that we're doing, our busyness gets out of the way, and we start to flow, and we start to put our lives back in order, and we start to do exactly what God's purposed us to do. And so we start looking at those things, and we start going on those things. I got one story that I want to read to you guys, just as we come to the close and as we're wrapping it up. This little story comes from, I'm going to hope I don't mess up her name, Irma Bombeck, I believe is what her name is. And she's an author, and several years ago, she discovered that she had terminal cancer. And during that terminal cancer, she was going to write this little 1-page letter of what was going on in her life and just things that she was going to go through, and she wanted to just share that with everybody. So I'm going to do my best not to really cry during this, but we're going to be good. Here we go. It says, if I had my life to live over, I would have talked less and listened more. I would have invited friends over to dinner even if the carpet was stained and the sofa faded. I would have eaten the popcorn in the good living room and worried much less about the dirt when someone wanted to light a fire in the fireplace. I would have taken the time to listen to my grandfather ramble about his youth. I would have never have insisted the car windows be rolled up on a summer day because my hair had just been teased and sprayed. I would have burned the pink candle sculpted like a rose before it melted in storage. I would have sat on the lawn with my children and not worried about grass stains. I would have cried and laughed less while watching television and more while watching life. I would have shared more of the responsibilities carried by my husband. I would have gone to bed when I was sick instead of pretending the earth would go into a holding pattern if I weren't there for the day. I would never have bought anything just because it was practical, wouldn't show soil, or was guaranteed to last a lifetime. Instead of wishing away 9 months of pregnancy, I'd have cherished every moment and realized that the wonderment growing inside me was the only chance in life to assist God in a miracle. When my kids kissed me, told you. When my kids kissed me impetuously, I would never have said later, now go wash up for dinner. There would have been more I love yous, more I'm sorry's, but mostly given another shot at life. I would seize every minute, look at it, really see it, live it, and never give it back. You know, we all have family members that are just not with us. And what we would give for those moments. We can never get those moments back ever. You know, wishing away one day and say, I'll do it tomorrow with you, is something you never get that day back. You never get that moment back. You never get that time back. You might still be able to do something the next day, but it will probably never have been the same thing that you would have done the day before, ever. And that's what I'm trying to just talk to you guys about, just share with you guys on my heart with that, is that you got to try to find a time to slow down. Try to take that time. Try to find it with your families, with your friends, your kids, your jobs. Know where your boundaries are. Draw those limits and really see what's going on in life. Never have to come to a point, and I pray that I never do, that I have to come and write a letter like this. Or that if I'm lying in my deathbed at the end of my life and I'm like, wow, I wish I just had 5 more minutes. I wish I could go back and relook at all that busyness that I thought was so important in my life. And I wish I could just go back and rethink that, because I would change everything. Never want to see myself ever go through that. And that's why I focus so hard on my life, so much with my wife, that we have to have time to unplug. And we've got to have times for those rest. So I just want to pray for you guys. If you guys can just go ahead and just close your eyes. Dear Jesus, I just want to, again, thank you, Lord. Thank you for today, Lord. Thank you. Let us leave out of here today, Lord, living today for what you designed it for. Never looking past an opportunity to reach out to somebody. Never looking or missing an opportunity to share something with somebody. Never missing the opportunity with my families, my friends. Lord, take away that fear that rests inside of us of not being good enough, not being busy enough. Don't allow that fear to represent or take away the promises that you have for us tomorrow. Lord, just put your hands on people as we go through this, just as they think really closely about what's going on in their lives and areas in their lives that they can slow down. You know, we never like to leave services, and we never like to go out of here without asking. Look, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, this is your day. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take a whole lot. It's very simple. It's you simply saying, forgive me. I'm sorry. Wash away my sins. Refresh me anew. Design me. Put me where you've put me and design me to be. If that's you today, I won't embarrass you. You can just raise your hand. I'll say a quick, simple prayer with you. Okay, dear Jesus, we just want to thank you again, Lord, for today, Lord. Just the blessings upon our lives, Lord, as we go into this Christmas season, that we are going to just start to put the focus where it's designed to be and where it's supposed to be. Put your hands on each one as they travel throughout this year and this time of this year, Lord, that they will be protected and guided and guarded. Put them into the place of people to talk to and to share your good news with. In Jesus' name we all said, amen.